part of our conversation.
Okay.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be part of the GFA Attract interview series. Basically, what we want to do is we want to, put you on a platform where lots of people can hear your story and hear about your company and what you're about. So basically, I'll start off by asking, who is Mr. Lenin Ugoji?
Okay. I'm a finance person, former banker. I've actually been in the industry for about 20 years. I run an asset management company, called the Melambi Trust Company, and we focus on what we call alternative assets. So Lenin is somebody that how will I put it? I like reading. I actually like writing. I like history. I'm a sports enthusiast, and I'm married. I have 2 kids who are, I think my kids are 15 and 13 now, I think. Yeah. And then I like new ventures. I like to try out new things. So that's what Len's about.
Okay, so I read new venture. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. It's
exactly, Bahandra.com.
All right. Okay, can you tell us a little bit about that?
I have to give a background because Bahandra is not, Bahandra is a couple of young Nigerians who have been doing trading in commodities, agricultural commodities, right? And they wanted to set up, like an agri platform, right? But what they realized was that while they had spent the last 2 years having live experiences, a lot of their age group had gone around already setting up these agri platforms, but without experience, really. And what happened is that you have quite a lot of failed agri platform projects, in Nigeria. And so one day I was talking at a small meeting, and I was talking about mentorship, and that the biggest challenge I think Nigerian youth have is actually mentorship. I don't think the issue is capital, right? Because my view was that capital is not usually entirely about money. It's usually about, how you can leverage whatever it is that you have. And that mentorship is one of the critical things. So after that meeting, they came and met me, and they told me about what they were doing. And so I told them, okay, what we do is that we are going to be advisors to you guys, right? And we're going to package this thing right. So they're not really interested in being known. So what they really want, they want it to succeed. So for that, they have, gotten our company, Melambi Trust, to act as, principal advisors on this venture. So being that at the day, Bahandra is, very simply put, a platform that is kind of more focused on the manufacturers. Because what these guys realized when they started trading was that, you buy from the farmers quite all right, but the problem in Nigeria is that the manufacturers are not able to get raw materials, which are mostly agricultural commodities, in the right quantity and quality that they need. And for the small and medium-sized manufacturers, another issue is payment terms. So for instance, because Nigeria's agricultural system is seasonal, so for instance, you grow soya beans only once a year, right? Even though it's a 3 to 4 month crop that you could probably grow twice or 3 times a year. You only grow it once. So what that means is that somebody that manufacturer that makes soya oil has to stock up for the entire year. He has to buy enough soybeans at the beginning of the season for the entire year. So what we realize is that they are tying up a lot of their inventory, a lot of their capital into buying raw material and also storing them, right? So we found out that, okay, there could be an opportunity here. Why can't we be able to do what? Buy this product, right? Store them, right? And deliver to them when they need it, right? So that it provides some value for the manufacturer. So that's the general idea of Bahandra. So it's manufacturer centric, and that's really what it wants to focus. It wants to focus on the small and mid-sized manufacturer, and so it provides that. So the basic mantra of Bahandra is: we buy, we store, we sell.
Okay, right. So were you the only one who thought about Bahandra? Like, how did it come about? Do you have people that you're working with?
Oh yeah, definitely. I actually came into the commodities market about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I used to work at, I was the managing director of an asset management company, and I was already looking at, 5 years ago, Nigeria just experienced another devaluation, and one was looking at futuristically what the investment market was going to be like. And so we looked at it and we said, what is the most sustainable thing that somebody could invest in, right? That has a futuristic role in Nigeria and still remained on tap for the investment market. Because in Nigeria, for the past 5 years, it's really just about treasury bills and government securities, and that's, apart from being a bit boring, it doesn't really give you the kind of value, that the investor really needs. Because if you look at the investment rate today, government securities is trading at about 4%. Meanwhile, you have inflation at 12.6%. So the investor is actually losing money. And so we felt that, okay, why don't we develop, the alternative market space? So things like agriculture, things like commodities, things like entertainment, things that actually have good return on investment, but because of the way it is in Nigeria, they really don't have the structure, right? And so that's how we started doing that. So I left and I set up my own asset management firm, which is called Malambi Trust, and we focus on alternative assets. And we even set up a commodity trading company, which is also into agriculture, called Cooper's Commodities. And it was through Cooper's Commodities that we met these young chaps, who are trading. So in Cooper's, what we do is that we buy and sell commodities, and we also engage in agriculture. We're currently having a pilot project somewhere in the state in Nigeria called Niger State for rice. We're doing that, and we hope to, once we finish that, scale that up and access the central bank's intervention fund for rice, so that we can scale that up. So that's really how we now came about the issue of Bahandra, because we now saw that there could be a gap, and that's why we felt we could partner with these guys.
Okay, so I'm curious a little bit about the manufacturing sector, the manufacturing industry specifically in Nigeria. Could you share your thoughts or your opinions about the manufacturing sector in your country?
Okay. Well, historically, Nigeria is made up of 3 major regions and 3 major, tribes. So in the north, you have the Hausa Fulani. In the west, you have the Yoruba, and in the east, you have the Igbo. Right? So these 3 are the the three musketeers of Nigeria. I always tell people that they are the problem of Nigeria. Mm-hmm. But but in these three zones, we have Nigeria has a history of quite an industrious past. So if you travel down the west, the southwest, the southeast of Nigeria, even the north, you would see a lot of industry, manufacturing firms. But all of them now went down, right? Because of things like devaluation, structural adjustment program. Then Nigeria started importing, a lot of and then with the downgrade of power, it affected efficiency. And then with oil, Nigerians abandoned agriculture. So in the end, you look at a typical manufactured product, right? A typical manufactured product is made up of various costs. So for instance, raw material globally, on average, for a manufactured product would cost you about 24% of the product. Distribution would cost about 16%. There are different components, right? Good. So Nigeria had one by one dropped down the ladder in each of those components. And so suddenly Nigeria became unattractive to manufacture. It became cheaper to import. So you could, China is 9,000, square kilometers away, and yet it's cheaper to land things from China than to manufacture them here. So that's what has happened. That's the tale. That's the history of my countries. And I think even Africa. Has had this challenge, the same challenge, especially Sub-Saharan Africa. Yeah. But I think in the last 10 years or 15 years, I think there has been a resurgence of focus on agriculture, right? It's been slow, but I think it's gradually beginning to show some traction, right? And for us, we believe that we need to be able to address the components, the factors of production for us to become competitive as a manufacturing industry. But the issue is that some of the things that we need to address are so long-term that we can't get them now. So for us in Bahandra, we feel that why don't we focus on the things that we can control a bit? So in the total makeup of the cost of a manufactured product, what we can control, we may not be able to affect power immediately, for instance, or road infrastructure. These things are going to take a couple of years and maybe decades. But we can affect, for instance, our agricultural output, which is the raw material. And already for us, Africa has the advantage. Africa is the raw material warehouse of the world. So why don't we look at our advantage and work from our advantage, right, to move towards our disadvantage? So that's the way we look at it. So we think that Africa has a very big opportunity now because of COVID and because of the Africa Free Trade Area Agreement. That's AFTA. We believe that trade is going to be the matchstick that is going to ignite change that we need. Africa needs to trade amongst itself. So that's our view.
Okay. So I understand the impact that you want to have, like, in the manufacturing industry. What about socially and environmentally? What impact do you plan to have, particularly socially and environmentally, through your company, Bahandra?
Bahandra. Okay. Socially, what we're looking at is, for us, economics is a social science for a reason, right? Yeah. Economics is what enables countries to evolve. That's why everywhere in the world, the economy is always the most important thing. Economics affects social behavior, right? So for us, very simply, we look at it from the perspective, first of all, socially, that we need to get Nigerian and African to earn more from what they do, right? Because when they earn more from what they do, they're going to be able to look after their families better, look after their health better, involve themselves more in education better. In the end, I think even the Bible says that in the end, it's all about money. It's about getting some kind of economic power to people. Africa is under-empowered. So what we feel is trade being the easiest thing to do and the oldest profession for which Africa has been known for centuries. Africa has always been a trading destination. So we Africans are natural traders. I don't know where you're from, but I know that every African is born to trade, right? And we're saying, let us take trade. Let us make trade, let us make it simple. Let us make it what it should be, to empower, to enlighten, to open up. Because once it does that, it's going to change the social structure of Africa as we know it. And once that is changed, you will see the benefit of that. You will see Africa unleash its real potential. Because we always talk about education. But I always tell people, whoever created Harvard never went to Harvard, right? So it's not about Harvard. It's not about Oxford. It's not about schooling abroad. It's just about logic. And that's one thing trade does. Trade is not about institutions. It's not about school. Trade is just common sense. I buy, I sell, I make a margin, I improve my life, right? So we feel socially, trade is going to be what is going to lift Africa. And that's why we want to focus on trade. Environmentally, what we want to do is to try to get people that let us learn from the mistakes of the so-called developed countries. So for instance, all the things they've done in terms of manufacturing, in terms of Africa has the opportunity to do things, but do things better, smarter, right? Exactly. And that's where we feel that the environmental aspect comes. So for instance, if we are going to eventually get to the point where we can help manufacturing companies to maybe acquire certain equipment, we will look for the most environmental, savvy equipment, things that we can use today so that we prevent what has happened in these other countries tomorrow. Look at China. China suffers from smog, suffers from a lot of health repercussions because of this, massive manufacturing, boom, right? So there is an impact, but Africa has that opportunity, and that's what Miranda wants to talk about, at least socially. Oh, sorry, I can't hear you.
Okay, so let's talk about the supply chain.
Okay.
We agree that supply chain is very, very important when it comes to developing Africa. Can we talk a little bit about how supply chain is understated, so to say, and how important supply chain is in improving African business environment?
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you that I think many people always understate the supply chain. Yeah, we always talk about the sectors. So for instance, we talk about agri-sector, manufacturing sector, yeah. But in a simple way, I think the supply chain is like a handshake. The handshake between for instance, the agricultural sector and the manufacturing sector, right? And what it just does really, if you look at it effectively, what does supply chain really do? The primary aim of supply chain is inventory management, really. So for instance, you are going to get, I'm a manufacturer. I need a ton of rice, but I don't need it today. I need it in 5 days time, right? Okay. Yeah. And because if I get it today, I'm going to have to think of, okay, where do I keep it? Who do I get to watch over it? Oh, maybe I have to insure it. Oh, I hope there's no flood that will come and wet it. So because I get it before time, right? I have to spend other things. So it increases my finance cost, insurance cost, storage cost, right? Okay. But if I got it after the day I need it, what would happen? First of all, I would have an increase in personnel cost because my personnel are just going to be twiddling their thumbs waiting for the raw material to arrive because the supply chain has not delivered. Yeah. Then, or I'll have power costs because power is going to be on, waiting for the equipment and for the raw material to come, right? So either way, an inefficient supply chain has cost, right? But if I get all these things on the day I need it, at the time I need it, I get rid of all these things. And in the end, what happens? My average cost of product comes down. So the supply chain is so important, you understand? And I think all the while, technology in Africa has not been manufacturer-centric. It's usually just been agriculturally centric. Africa is so enamored with agriculture, which is good. I'm not saying it's not bad. It's really good, But we all know that for you to become a developed nation, right, it's not going to be based on agriculture. It's going to be based on production, And I think as Africa is improving on its agricultural output, because Africa still is a net importer of food still, right? But I know we are pretty close to closing that gap. And once we do, what's the next thing? We're going to have to look at manufacturing. How do you utilize your excess? So like great. I always tell people that the great industrial revolution in Europe was preceded by the great agricultural revolution. So it was because agriculture became boomed so much, and suddenly output quadrupled. There was so much product, and the product started wasting. So people started thinking, what could I do with this product? And that's how manufacturing industries were born. And all those smallholder farmers who were now taken out by the commercial farm became the employees of the first industry. And I believe something like that may have to happen here, eventually. So I think that's just my viewpoint on that.
And technology and innovation. I'm sure that you can agree that those are the two most important things when it comes to supply chain. So can you just explain or predict, so to speak, how technology and innovation will expand in Africa?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a view, right, in terms of what is going to happen in Africa, right, in terms of this question you just asked, right? Because people keep saying things like Africa is going to be the next China, the manufacturing hub of the world, right? We slightly disagree because we've looked at it. Technology is becoming more and more important globally. In fact, what made China become what it is was largely its low wage structure, which over the last 30 years has kind of made them to become cheaper in production. Can you see me now? Okay. Can you see me now? Okay. Go
ahead, though.
Sorry, okay. Yes, so we're saying that China's initial advantage was that they had very low wage structure. So that made them a lot more cheaper to produce goods and services, right? Okay. But what have we seen in China? The wage structure has gradually increased, right? But China is still the most competitive. Why? Because they have also improved their technology, right? And with the advent of artificial intelligence, what it shows us is that human beings are going to be more and more irrelevant in the production chain. Okay? So even though Africa has a lot of, will I say, poor people who will take low wages, wages are not be such a big factor in the cost of production anymore going into the future, right? So for us, Africa must look to technology if it wants to become recognized, if it wants to get a seat at the table, right? But because Africa is backward technology-wise, it must start with its strength. And what is its strength? Its strength is resource. Africa is the resource capital of the world, right? So what Africa, in our own opinion, should do is do what? Make more efficient the process of growing, mining, extracting its resources. Oops.
What is your biggest success in your company, and what are the major problems that you have experienced?
Okay. Well, I think our biggest success so far is that we have been able to create some kind of structure to try to invest in the agricultural space for typical investors, because that's our core aim. We want people to be able to invest in these real sectors, right? In a safe way, in a transparent way, in an ethical way, where we can get returns that far outstrip inflation and other industries that negatively affect investors in Nigeria. So that, for us, that's our biggest. It's our goal, and I think we've done a reasonable job up to now. So you said what else again? You said what about the what?
So your biggest success and your biggest problem, like what problem have you faced?
Okay. Yes. I think for us, one of the biggest problems, of course, well, maybe not one or two. Of course, one is always finance. One is always finance, getting the right type of finance to support this. But the whole essence of the Bahandra platform is actually to create that finance from the investing public, really. So find a way to get that money into the channel that we want, right? In order to be able to get to that. I think finance is definitely one of it, the right type of finance. Then two, I think I would say the infrastructure. So for instance, to really make this work, logistics is a big problem in Nigeria, and it is hampered by the road network, the power structure. So those are things that we feel have to be done. The only thing is that we feel that it should be done through more private public partnership, because the governments don't have the money to do that. So we feel there should be more of PP to do that. I think those kind of things would impact our business very positively, and it will eventually help the manufacturer to become more efficient, more competitive globally.
And how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, okay. Bahandra is going to go live probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So this is actually this is a pre-launch kind of discussion. So we're going to go live. We're just tying up 1 or 2 loose ends. So once we do that, our social media handles are going to be up, and we're going to be on www.bahandra.com. In fact, the name of the company is actually bahandra.com. That's the name of the company. Yeah, but Bahandra is actually a word for intermediary, right? Yeah, it's actually a word for intermediary from one of the ethnic groups in Nigeria. It's from a place called Benue. Benue is the food basket of Nigeria.
Right.
Yeah, so we have a presence there, and we got the name from there actually. So Bahandra means is all those people that they intervene with farmers and sell to others. Yeah, so that's where we got the name from.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And how do people invest in your company, or how do people become a part of what you are doing, basically?
Okay. Yeah, the platform is such, it's called, we don't really look at it as investment. We look at it as a kind of dealership. So for instance, because why we say we don't look at it as an investment is that you're not investing into a farm or something. No, right? No. You are buying a harvested commodity. So it's real, right? Okay, and then you don't have the risk of farming. So farming risk is, so all the farm crowdies, Thrive Agri, they're all telling you to invest in farm. Farming is very, very dangerous business. That's the truth. It's not easy. So we looked at it and said, from a risk perspective, let's take the investor out of that. So we created a dealership system, which is like how you deal in soft drinks. I don't know where you're from, but in Nigeria, the way you deal in soft drinks is that, like my mom used to deal in soft drinks. So what you do, she would go to Coca-Cola, make a payment, right? And then they will come and deliver it to her shop later on, right? Okay, and then she would retail it, sell it, right, and get her money. So that's the same thing with Bahandra. So what you do is that you make a payment, you buy the number of bags of the commodity that you want, right? And the only thing is that
So that's